And the fact that you're asking this shows how little you actually understood. You're pathetic, you know that?
Because in the end, you are powerless, just as all those before you. And you, prophetess, you are the biggest joke of all.
You are nothing but an urchin.
A weakling.
And a murderer.
And that is why you will burn. All of you. Now wake up. Keep on stumbling through the mist.
Thank Malphus. I was starting to think I was the only one. How are you? You look exhausted. Of course, sorry. That remark was a little redundant. You did. That's probably one of the after effects of the potion, but it will pass, I'm sure of it. But it's good to see the Grandmaster was right after all. I woke up just a few hours earlier, and he was here in the meantime. He didn't doubt for a single second that you would make it. But I suppose mutual congratulations are in order. We made it. We passed the trial. Almost, yes. All that is left to do is to take the oath, and then Grandmaster Aranthiel will exalt us to the keepers of the first sigil. Speaking of whom, he also told me some things while you were asleep. About the Pyreans, about these dreams, and of course, about this cycle. This is so bizarre, really. At first we're told out of nowhere that the gods have died, and now humanity is on the brink of extinction. This is a lot to take in. The way you say that suggests some painful experiences you've had with the reign of the Lightborn. But it doesn't really matter now with this cleansing ahead of us. I never had those dreams the Grandmaster talked about, even though I'm magically gifted. But then again, I always had the feeling that the Red Madness was more than an ordinary disease. Well, I suppose all of this explains a lot. At least now I can understand why the Grandmaster was willing to break all the traditions of the Order just to get you exalted to be a keeper. According to him, most of our battle against the cycle will stand or fall with you. Yes, I believe that. It's a great responsibility you've been given. And as impressive as your skills are, I would not want to change places with you. Well, as I said, we both have to take the Holy Oath. You should talk to the Grandmaster as soon as you're ready. He's waiting for you in the Emporium. Right. Dunwar. The apothecary examined him about an hour ago, and it doesn't look good. It's likely that he'll never wake up again. No, in spite of everything. You know, Dunwar was one of those people who tried to gild their insecurity with boastful behavior. The reality is that he was the last of his bloodline, and his faith in the path and his destiny as a keeper were all that he had left. And who knows? Maybe he would have been a great help to the Order with the right guidance. But I guess Master Bartar's revelation was just too much for him. It's hard to be told that everything you've lived for was a lie. Yes, all of the Dalmordans fell victim to the Great Flesh Maggot Plague of 8215. Actually, it was almost sad to see him running around and boasting about his nobility, though everyone knew that without the help of the Order, he would have probably ended up living in a shack in the Undercity, if you can call that living. Well, maybe I just don't show it as much. But yes, in a way, you're probably right. I suppose that's mainly due to the fact that to me, as opposed to Dunwar, the Order always stood for an idea. And an idea doesn't die with the one who first thought of it. Funny that the Grandmaster said nearly the same thing during the exaltation. Dunwar would have considered it blasphemy. That's true. A lot of crimes were committed during the Lightborn's reign, and I don't want to minimize that. But I also think a lot of those crimes were unavoidable, so to speak. Imagine you're the king of a small island, and one day your realm gets attacked by a fleet of Scarab Reavers. The invasion catches you completely off guard, and within a few hours, the Reavers have advanced to the farmland, just a few feet from your city's main gates. And before you know it, you have to make a decision. Will you use the time that remains to entrench your army within the city's walls to have a better chance of surviving a siege? Or do you send them into the field to fight the Reavers there, knowing that there is only a slight chance to save the farmers, but a big risk that you will lose both the city and the farmers? It would, yes. But what if your foray fails, and ends up being the reason why the Scarab can break through the city's fortifications? Wouldn't that too make you responsible for all the townsfolk they would kill once they got in? What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't matter what you do. There will be people who will despise you for your decision. If your attempt to rescue the farmers fails, you will be accused of having acted blindly and idealistically. And if you just stay in the city, they will say you didn't even try. Of course, there's a small chance the foray might work, but should decisions like that really be made as if they were a game of dice? As I said, I don't mean to absolve the Lightborn of their crimes, but I'd wager my left hand that they had a lot of similar decisions to make. I knew the question would come eventually. I suppose the answer depends on whether you're in the mood for some gloomy talk. Sooner or later you'll hear it from someone else anyway, so why not from me first? As you wish. Where should I start? Maybe with the fact that I don't remember anything that happened before my 6th winter. I don't know where I was born, and I never got to know my parents. wish I knew. What I do know, though, is that the first memory I have is of waking up in the middle of some village. It was dark, and I felt dizzy and, I don't know, empty? That's probably the best way to describe it. I eventually found the strength to get up and look around, and, well, that's when I realized what was actually going on around me. The entire village. It had been destroyed. There were corpses everywhere. Men, women, children, and the houses had been crushed as if some mad god had rampaged through the streets there. And it had all just happened hours before because the destruction was still fresh. Whatever it was, I didn't have much time to think about it. As soon as I got up, I saw 3 riders coming through the smoke. One of them got off his horse, ran towards one of the corpses, and started screaming something in my direction. Then I felt a blow on the back of my head, and I lost consciousness. By the name of the sun, it's strange to talk about it like this. It's been so long, but the memory feels as if it had happened yesterday. It's okay. Anyway, it turned out that the riders were men from the village who had gone hunting. They must have observed the whatever it was from the distance and ridden back to the village. At least I think that's how it went. I guess I'll never find out. The reason they thought I was somehow involved is that the village priest found me a couple of days before it happened near a shrine in the wilderness. Apparently, I was wearing torn clothing, and no matter what the apothecary tried, he couldn't wake me up from my comatose sleep. And it seems that made the riders think I was some kind of witch child, or unholy beast, whichever you prefer. For you, maybe. For them, as simple people, it was probably the best explanation they had. And think about it, it's not that far off. A motherless child who neither talks nor breathes steadily is found abandoned on the roadside and has a strange mark on her face. They leave to go hunting, and when they come back, they find their village in ruins with that foundling child being the only survivor. You have to admit, it's not that much of a stretch, even if those men hadn't been superstitious farmers. Probably. Truth be told, I try not to think about it too much. And actually, it doesn't matter, because I somehow managed to get away before they could do anything. I even made it to Ark all by myself, which didn't turn out to be much of an improvement in the end, because I was pathless. Yes. Thinking about it now, I actually wonder how I made it through my time down there. But maybe that's one of the advantages of being a child. You don't think. You just act. Still, the winters down there were cruel, and if Master Tyrus hadn't found and taken care of me, I probably wouldn't have made it through my second year. Yes, otherwise I would not be here. He saw me, and he knew what he had to do, is how he put it. Of course, the Order wasn't too happy about a pathless child in the Scuola, just as some aren't happy about you being here. But Tyrus was a highly regarded man, and that's why they let it slide. It does, yes. But then, he had lost both his wife and daughter 5 years before he found me. so maybe I was some kind of substitute. I don't know. But in the end, it doesn't matter. I owe him everything. He was a good man, and that's all that matters. That's right, we do, but we are both still pathless, and that disqualifies us according to the holy verses. I guess now you understand why I was never as connected to Malphas's teaching as Dunmore was. To some of the Keepers, I am still an outcast, and no matter what I do, I always will be. Yes, and now I'm here. Well, here we've reached the end of my impressive tale. I hope you liked it. No, I guess I'm not. Gone. He was very old, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. But I'd prefer not to talk about it, if you don't mind. He does, yes, and he's not alone in his opinion. One of those hunters recognized me in the market my first year as a novice, and you can imagine that it was easy pickings for those who were already against my presence in the Order. From then on, they added names to the derogatory stares. Demon Child, Witch, whatever they could come up with. Maybe, but everything I'm capable of is the fruit of hard work, though they will never acknowledge that. Yes, maybe. You know what's funny? To some extent, I'm glad to be who I am. That way, people just leave me alone, and that gives me more time to focus on what's important, on my goals. Several. But I'd say that's enough of the gloomy stories, don't you think? There will be plenty of time for chatter in the future. Maybe. You should. It's already late, but if you want, I can show you the most important places in the temple before you go to the Emporium. What do you think? Good. Then get your gear from the chest by your bed and we'll go. You should reclaim your gear before we leave. Well then, let's go. Alright, this is the Sanctum. It's a place of silence and prayer, and also where we'll be exalted later. Okay, I think you've seen this place before. We call this part of the temple the Chronicum, and in here is gathered the knowledge of the Order, written down in books and parchments. Plus, all of the experiments and research on artifacts and magic is done here, so it's a place you'll probably see often in the near future. Ah, and just below the Chronicum is the temple smithy. You should go there if you need equipment. Over there, that's the Scuola and the quarters, where both the keepers and the novices live. There's also a training room where everything from swordplay to marksmanship can be trained and taught. You will find some skilled teachers there. Well, I think that's about it. You've already been to the Emporium, and I assume to the Eye of the Gods as well. I suggest you speak to the Grandmaster as soon as you're ready to take the oath. Prepare myself, probably. Now walk blessed. I will see you soon.
And you actually believe this could work? It sounds absurd.
I don't believe I know. The mercenary, he might not be the shining knight of Castle Starsound, but he's better than most of your men. I want him, and you will need to convince your true Chesser of it.
Is that so? Very well, I will convince her. You will hear from me.
I hope so.
Prophetess, good to see you. How do you feel? Oh, what? So little confidence in yourself? I knew you would pass. If I had doubted your abilities, even to the slightest, I would have never spoken out for you. In any case, all that is left to do now is to recite the oath. Then we will finally deal with the more urgent matters. None of it, you'll see. The ceremony needs a little preparation, 1 day at least. Come back then. Even if it hurts to lose more time, the cleansing approaches, I can feel it. Just this night I had another of the dreams. People I knew, including you. But these people weren't themselves. There was something else, and it spoke through them. They mocked us and said our struggle against the cycle was pointless. It was peculiar. I believe that these beings are connected to the cycle. They must be the ones who cause it. You did? That is interesting. It must be related to our roles as emissaries. Maybe there is a connection between us. None. Maybe they are demons or magical entities of some kind, but they are different from everything I know. In any case, if they are indeed responsible for the cycle, they are our enemies. That's what matters for now. Come back tomorrow for the ceremony. Yes? That depends on whom you ask. In some writings of the Pyreans, we are referred to as chosen ones, but this is wrong. A better word would be chess figures with their own will. Whatever force causes the cycle also gave us powers and a task, but fulfilling that task is our own responsibility. No. Well, that is something else we only know in broad strokes. It is my task to lead mankind in its battle against the cleansing, to rally our strengths, so to speak. Yours is to read the echo and help us gain the knowledge we need for victory. How exactly you're going to do that is something we still have to find out. I do not know, but there are hints. We will see. Good question. In their writing, the Pyreans say it has existed for aeons. Since this world exists, since the Sea of Eventualities exists, so too then does the cycle. It seems to be a part of existence, so to speak. The Pyreans didn't, and neither did the dozen civilizations that came before them. That is what we know. But as for what happened before that, our knowledge about the past is limited. All that matters for now is that the cycle threatens us, and that we have to stop it. As I said before, my knowledge about that is limited. But if it helps you, imagine that it is a way of perceiving that which connects us all, our subconscious. Yes. You know, most people perceive themselves as an entity separate from the rest of the world. And while this is partially true, there is something that connects us. Dark corners of our mind, bridges to which we in a conscious state do not have access to. But you do not need to be supernaturally gifted to feel that these bridges exist. I am sure you have experienced it yourself at one time or another. A moment where you knew exactly what another person thought or would do next. People with close blood ties can especially feel that connection. Children and their mothers, siblings, and especially twins. Correct. And while most people hardly feel this connection at all, as if looking through a tinted window, to you it is wide open during your visions. Their bodies might be, but the traces they left behind still remain. Everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be, it already exists in the Sea of Eventualities. This is the basic principle of magic. And time is not a straight line. Only the barriers of our mind make us perceive it as such. Visions, premonitions, dreams that become reality. These are all leftovers of waves from other eventualities that spill over into our reality. There have always been people able to read them, but none so good at it as you are, thanks to the Echo. Yes. Why do you ask? In an old temple in the northern mountains of Nerim. It was a bastion of our order before Narazul's armies conquered it after the Battle of Triomar. Ironic, I know. They did. What are you getting at? A fair point. But in the future, just be upfront. I do not like such veiled remarks. So, yes. My time in the prison was harsh. The hunger, the degradation, to name the most obvious. The worst, however, was the isolation. Ironically enough, that was the last thing I had expected, you know. From all the suffering there is, it seems so banal. But it isn't. You either find ways to cope with it, or it breaks you. Fortunately, I managed to do the former. For me, it was memories of the time before my incarceration, the prospect of what would come after it. They were my window into the outer world, so to speak. They reminded me that I was more than this deprived creature I had become in those dungeons. Strange. Everything seemed too bright. Too unreal. I especially felt that in the cloister with Narazul's mages. I had difficulty talking to other people, and whenever I did, it felt as if the others were like wax figures. Like some cruel joke put in front of my eyes in order to mock me. Better. Our mission, my responsibility here as a leader, it has helped me to find my way back into the real world. What would have been the alternative? A life as a fisherman? If the things I had to live through taught me one thing, then it was how important it is for me to be right here, right now, doing what I do. In fact, this is precisely what is missing in the world. People who do not let the whims of fate break their resolve. Now, enough of this. We have business to attend to.
I really hate that man.